Hello, guys. Welcome to CEO Sister Talk. We are back for 2025. I'm so excited. So, 2025 is about to be absolutely amazing. I am already lining up amazing guests to come on the show every Wednesday at 7 p.m. CEO Sister Talk will be live right here on Instagram. And I'm so absolutely excited. Who's excited about 2025? Who is excited to kick off your goals, your business, your best life in 2025, right? I know it's like cliche, it's a brand new year. We're kicking it off on January 1st of the brand new year, but at the end of the day, there is never a bad time to set your new goals. There's never a bad time to set new intentions and begin to literally walk it out, right? Walk it out. I see Jasmine is on. Let me invite her. Let me see. I gotta click view request. Here we go. See if it's loading in. We're coming on just a few minutes early just to make sure we don't have any technical difficulties. Miss Sweet Cheeks 52 says, me, she's ready. Jasmine.
Hello, hello, hello. How are you? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, beautiful. How are you?
I am amazing. And I'm so happy that I get to start the new year with a CEO Sister Talk. So I'm super excited.
Listen, I was just saying before you came on, like, I know it's cliche, it's January 1st, 2025, right? Here we are, the first day of the new year. But there's never a bad time to start some new goals, to
Never.
like literally set your intentions. This today could be the beginning of the most beautiful chapter of your life ever.
Exactly.
Ever. Okay, so because Jasmine, I'm excited. So let me just woosah for 1 second and say hello to some people who are coming on. Berdella, I see you. Hi, sweetheart. Hello, hello, hello. Journey, Renee, Rebecca, I love your hair. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you. I feel like it's been forever. Lakeisha, hey, sweetie. Hello, 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 everyone coming on. So thank you for joining us live and everyone who's going to catch this in replay, especially over on YouTube. We love you. We appreciate you. Okay, let me kick this off by just doing an official intro, and then I'm going to introduce Jasmine, our special guest tonight. And we're going to have just a really fun, candid, real, heartfelt conversation about entrepreneurship and the ups and downs and leaving your 9 to 5. So I am Rebecca Lynn Pope. I am the Aligned CEO. I help transform lives and businesses. I specialize in branding, marketing, and targeted ads. I work with women who are driven, goal-oriented, ambitious, who are determined to live life in orientation with God's will and perfect happiness for their life. I love working with women who absolutely love God and are determined to reach their goals, but do it with peace and balance and self-love and harmony and Holy Spirit. Now, that being said, my guest tonight on CEO Sister Talk is Jasmine Smith, the founder of Jasmine Smith Photography, specializing in branding and curating content. She is a branding strategist who specifically works with you to create not just branding images and visuals, but strategic content to help you reach your goals.
Yes.
Jasmine, welcome to CEO Sister Talk.
Yes. Thank you for having me. And hello, everybody that's in the comments. I can't wait for this little chit chat that we're going to have tonight. Okay. I'm super excited.
So wait a minute. Let me just tell you, I had a VIP business strategy session this week with one of my followers. And inside of our session, she shared with me how she just did a shoot with you in November. And I said, oh, really? How do you know Jasmine? She's about to be on the show. She's like, I'm the one who referred you to Jasmine. I've been following you for years. Cynthia literally was like on this Zoom with me, and she was like, I'm the one who responded to the email and you were looking for photographers. I was like, Cynthia, you're the one who connected us? And she was like, that was me. And I was like, oh, I'm so grateful.
Yes.
I'm so grateful. Once again, back to alignment,
Mhm.
sisterhood, referrals,
Yes.
connections, and
Yes.
how much, we're so much stronger together.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jasmine, anything you'd like to say before I kick off questions and digging into all of this
Um,
with you?
I feel like you hit the nail on the head. So you got everything. I'm a branding and wedding photographer. I primarily on this page you only see my branding stuff, but I'm a branding and content strategist. So just like Rebecca said, I focus on more than creating pretty pictures. I feel like that's pointless because the social media world is filled with pretty pictures, but I need your pretty pictures to actually tell a story. I need your pretty pictures to actually be intentional in your marketing because there's no point in you investing in me if you're not going to get an ROI back from it. So that's something that I'm very, very passionate about, very, very prevalent on because if you're going to spend and invest in me, I also want to make sure that it is going to move the needle in your business and get you the numbers that you need to get and reach the people that you need to reach. And I can help you get there. So, yeah.
So tonight we're digging into, because how long have you been in business, Jasmine,
I've
full
been
time?
in business since right before I had my son, so going on 7 years almost. Yeah,
And
so we're
how
almost
long
at
have you been a full-time entrepreneur? When did you quit your 9 to 5?
May of 2023. So I am going into I'm almost at the 2 year mark of being full time. So
Okay, so a year and a half full-time entrepreneurship. And I want to point out, did you notice she said entrepreneur 7 years, full-time a year and a half?
mhm.
Because I think this is sometimes the message gets so misconstrued, or people just assume that when
Mhm.
you see a business owner, they're working their business full time. And
Right.
there is definitely a transition
Mhm.
period that is very necessary to go from working 9 to 5 to working your business full time. So just to give you a little bit of background on Jasmine, she has over a decade as a professional educator, as a teacher. What grades did you teach, Jasmine?
I taught seventh grade life science. So essentially, that's biology for middle school. And I taught the same subject all 10 years, same classroom all 10 years. But throughout that 10 years, I got to do so much within it because I was in leadership. For several years, I was the department head. So I was over the entire science department. When I first got to my school, we were a charter school. I got to write parts of our charter like early on in my education. I was coach. I had other jobs outside of running my business. Like I was always like a hustle like type of
Yeah.
person. Um, and I was just doing that all at the same time. But I absolutely love teaching. Still sub like here and there when I got the itch to be in somebody's classroom. But now what I have realized, because I went through a transition period of like mourning like the identity that was me. And I know that's probably going to get into our conversation,
Yeah.
just like mourning the identity of being a teacher. Because it's all I knew for 10 years. So just even switching and saying, oh, I'm not going to be a teacher anymore. Like you kind of go through an identity crisis once you leave the 9 to 5. And a lot of people don't talk about that, but you go through like a small, sometimes really big identity crisis where you're really trying to like find yourself again. And now here I am, a year and a half into full-time entrepreneurship, and now I'm feeling like I'm like the identity crisis is gone. Like I have,
Yeah.
went through that journey. I have mourned it. I have, laid it to bed. It is done. There is no amount of money that could pay me to like fully go back into a classroom like full
Yeah.
time. Like it's just never on my thing. But what I have started to realize is that there's so many skills that I had from the classroom that have transferred over into my business.
Right.
Um, Especially
And
when it comes
I
to strategy, because it's almost like a lesson plan. Like me looking at your brand is almost like me looking at a lesson plan. And I was a phenomenal teacher. I still am a phenomenal teacher because I still teach. I just have a different classroom. My
right.
classroom's online. My classroom is on live like we are now. My classroom is when I get on stages, when I'm on panels, when I'm doing different things like that. So it's just like really like retraining your brain to be like,
Yeah.
it's not that it's gone. you just pivoted within what you were doing. So I'm still using my gifts. I'm just using them in, other aspects. So
And I
yeah, and
think,
I get to be a inspiration to my kids because I have students that still email me to this day. I have a few that have started businesses. They keep up with me. I have one that's like a photographer in the training. She reaches out to me on a regular basis. She's done like photography, like contest. She's won. She's got first place. So it's just like I'm still making an influence
yeah,
on the classroom, even though I'm not in the classroom. So I
right.
feel like that's even like a really big thing too. And I didn't even think about that. Like, oh, these kids are like looking up
Yeah,
to like,
they're
oh,
still
Miss
looking
Smith,
up to you.
she left
Yeah,
the classroom, but they still keep up with me. And when they see me in the hallways, if I'm in the building, they're just like, oh, you're back. Tell me about your shoots. What are your clients? Like
right.
they love all of that.
And
So
I think you hit on a really key point that I want to make sure we dig into just a little bit, in that understanding that the psychology of an entrepreneur, there is psychology, there is resistance, there are mental hurdles, there are spiritual hurdles. There's a lot that we have to overcome
right.
in order to be successful entrepreneurs,
Mm-hmm.
to successfully monetize a gift, a talent, an interest, a passion, purpose. There are a lot of hurdles we have to overcome. And one of the things that you mentioned is about identity.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on how invested, this is what I've witnessed with clients over the years, Jasmine, is that the stronger that identity,
Mm-hmm.
and the longer you've been in your professional field and have strong identity, like doctoring, lawyering,
Right.
teaching, where you have a title that you've had to, especially the more education you've had to get to be in that role, the more financial investment, time, energy, studying, work, right? We don't realize that we can actually be so attached to that identity, that even though you have this dream, even though you're dreaming of financial freedom, you're dreaming of time freedom, you're dreaming of all, business and being able to make a difference and following some more of your passions, that maybe this isn't exactly fulfilling like it used to,
Mm-hmm.
there's still that junk you've got to get over in your head to say, I have to give myself permission to do something new.
Right. Right. And it's no easy feat. Like it's not easy to give yourself permission to like move on to what you've known for so long. And especially when it comes to like overachieving black women, we just feel like, oh, okay, cool. I can just, flip this switch real quick. And then when that switch doesn't happen, then that doubt comes in and we're just like, oh, well, why do I feel like
Yes.
this? And then I feel like a lot of times, sometimes that's why people end up going back because they're so attached to, what was, that they can't look into the future. And then something that really like stood out to me is like Lot's wife, because when she looked back, what happened to her? She
Yeah.
turned to a pillar of salt.
Right.
So I kind of put that in my business as far as like when I'm looking back. I can't keep looking back at like
Mhm.
the old Jasmine and what was, and the comfortability that I had, having like multiple, essentially like two full-time jobs with having a 9 to 5 and having a business. I have to look forward. And
Right.
once I started to do that, and once I got myself out of that mindset of, oh, I can't look back because that's only going to put me in a place
Yeah.
that I don't want to be, that's when I really felt like the push when I finally let go.
Yeah. Because the new chapters and the new money,
Mm-hmm.
the new breakthroughs, the new blessings, right, are not behind us. But I think that also something you just said is also crucial. Let's talk about self-doubt for a
Mm-hmm.
minute, right? Because that's what even prompted us to get on CEO Sister Talk.
Yeah.
Is you messaged me and said, how are you doing? And I said, I'm up and down. I'm in the process of rebranding, start a whole new business, something I've been doing behind the scenes for many years, but I have not been known for publicly, which, let me be clear, is really not quite any different than starting a new business,
Mm-hmm.
guys. When you are rebranding for something that like a couple hundred people know you for versus thousands, it's really not that different. It's like going back to basics of business and branding and starting just like you're a newbie and going through the entire process. The
Yep.
same process I work with clients to go through and you work with clients to go through every day.
Right.
But the self-doubts, when you listen, let's go back to when you first quit your job. And I'm gonna go and just talk about this recent transition. Okay. So it's like, wait a minute. I had guaranteed paychecks.
Right.
I had benefits that the company had worked to be, I built a company that was so profitable that I had benefits and employees and staff. And I had, this, 50 to $100,000 a month income. And am I crazy? Like, and it doesn't even matter what the income is. As a teacher, I know you're saying, okay, I'm making this amount per year, but guess what? When you're used to getting a paycheck every 2 weeks
Mm-hmm.
and you're switching over to now having to create your own paychecks every week and every month,
Right.
let's talk about that for a second.
Right. Because honestly, that's the really difficult part. Because if you are like working a 9 to 5 and it's something that you're really great in, getting those weekly checks doesn't feel like a lot of work to you. Because me teaching, oh, I could do that in my sleep, especially when you were teaching the same thing for 10 years. Like literally, I
Right.
barely had to lesson plan. Like I'm literally, it's just a rinse and
That's right.
repeat over and over again. Yes, the first year, second year, you're like, okay, cool, let me get, the curriculum or whatever together. But once you have it and once you've done it so many times, that confidence is going up. So by, 9, 8 years, like I'm just
Yeah.
coasting at that point. So being able to coast and make a living and then like completely be like, okay, cool, I'm going to stop doing that and I'm going to actually have to like work to make this money.
That
That's
part.
that's the difference.
Every day.
Every day. Like,
Every day working your business just like you would that 9 to 5
mm-hmm.
is what it's going to require. And
Right.
sometimes twice as much, sometimes 12, 14-hour days, right?
Right.
I think the part that's difficult about new business and new entrepreneurship is that you've got to really, really want it, or else it's going to be too hard because there are going to be seasons where you're working
Right.
twice as hard as you would have with the job, but you have to really want it. You have to
Right.
want time freedom, location independence, time management, harmony, balance, family. You have to want all of that really
All
bad.
of it. Mm-hmm. Because if
So,
you start a business that you started just because you wanted to make money, it's not going to be like long lasting, because the money at some point isn't going to be what you want it to be. And then the moment that happens, you're not going to start doing the work anymore. You're going to
exactly.
check out because you're going to be like, oh, I'm not making the money that I want to make. But if it's something that you're passionate about,
Mhm.
it's that passion that's driving you.
Yep.
It's not the money. I don't do what I do for the money. Yes, the money is great, but I do it because I want to make the impact. I love seeing the
Yeah.
confidence shift from somebody who has been doubting their business, has been doubting their abilities, just because they didn't actually have like a visual to showcase, all the greatness that's
Yep.
in their head. But once they have that, their confidence goes through the roof. But if you're
Yes.
just doing it for money, it's
It's,
not going to
yeah.
last long.
If you can't be consistent, it's not sustainable if there's not greater purpose and passion
Right.
motivating you behind why you're doing it. That's why naturally Nikki says that's why your why is so important. Ashley Johnson
Very.
says 1000%.
Mhm.
So let's get into some nitty gritty because I feel like one of the things that is very high up in priority for questions for people who really want to work their business full time
Mhm.
is strategy
Okay.
of how to transition from working your 9 to 5, building a business, and then going into working that business full time. If you could give us kind of like a concise strategy that you applied to
Mhm.
retiring from teaching in order to
Mhm.
work your business full time? And I'll also share my story after you share yours.
Okay. Well, I knew 2 years, and because I stopped at 10, but the only reason why I stopped at 10 was for retirement purposes. Because once you do 10 years teaching, you're considered, to be a tenured teacher. So when I'm of age to get retirement, I'll get retirement. Had I had stopped when I wanted to, that would have been 8, and essentially all the 8 years that I would have worked, I would have got nothing for it. So it's just like, no, I'm gonna stick this out. I'm gonna do my 10 years. So that's one thing, is really looking at like the system of your 9 to 5. So I knew I had, my point was 10. So that was one strategy, because I'm thinking like forward, as far as like,
Yes.
how am I going to get what I've already done
Yeah.
in my 9 to 5, like
Retirement.
retirement, because that's
Yeah.
very key. Because clearly, like, I'm not going to be a photographer forever. These bones can't, especially,
Right.
I'm getting all these crazy positions and stuff. Like, I can't do that forever. So I have to set, first, I was thinking I have to set myself up to where I have systems set in place where I'm getting money when I'm older. Then next, I did something crazy. I told my boss, I told my principal, same time. I told her 2 years in advance that I was leaving. And the reason why I did it is because I was going to hold myself accountable. Because I knew if I didn't tell her, I would eventually probably like talk myself out and be like, oh no, you can still just, keep trying to do both at the same time, because just thinking about comfort, and that's a steady paycheck. But once again, that's a mindset thing, because then you start to, that's you almost discrediting your abilities,
Mm-hmm.
because you're like, oh, I need to have this 9 to 5 because I don't think that I can sustain myself. So I did that. Next, I did a lot of crazy things. I never paid myself for the most part while I was working. My business essentially was just like an account, like an account that just continuously grew over, and the numbers just kept getting
So
bigger.
you
So
just
it.
kept saving the income from your job, while from your business. You saved it and let it stack while you were
Yep.
working your job. That's
Mm-hmm.
genius. That's
Yes. So
genius.
by the time I left, so I was stacking my money and I wasn't spending anything. I paid all my debts for the most part. So I paid all my student loans off, like my private student loans. I paid like any personal loans off, because I was thinking like, if I'm by myself, I need to keep my monthly bills as low as possible. So I'm just like, let me just keep, doing what I need to do, get all my bills in order. Benefits when it came to insurance, because that's a really big thing. And that's something that I'm
Yes.
even still dealing with, like to this day.
Yeah.
Insurance is, because me and my kids, I have 2 sons, me and my sons, we were all on my insurance, like through the school. So I had to also do about that. So getting all our doctor's appointments before, the time that insurance was getting cut off, getting them transferred over to my husband's insurance. But then that's a whole nother thing, because you become so used to, because in my business, with school, I was on Kaiser. So that's like a whole system. You got 24-hour nurses, all the things. It was beautiful. When the kids got sick, I maybe had to pay like $30, if that, to take them to the doctor. But you got to think, once you shift to somebody else's insurance, all that stuff changes. They may not have the same
Yeah.
companies, because that's something with my husband. Even though he works for a phenomenal company, they don't have Kaiser as one of their providers. So that's something that even to this day we still miss, like still miss. And I've even like looked
Yeah.
up like if I could, pay for it out of pocket, but then it's almost like triple what I was paying like while I was
It's
in. So that's something else that you
real.
don't think about, how much your company was paying your insurance in
Yes.
comparison to if you paid that insurance on your own.
Yes.
um
It's real.
just to give you a number, by myself it was like 170 something. I did it like a couple of weeks ago just for kicks and giggles to see what it would cost me. $500. So
Yeah.
from 171
170.
something
Yeah.
to $500 just for me.
Yeah.
That's not
Exactly.
even adding the kids. So looking at those benefits, and then that's something else. If you don't have a, if you're single, you don't have a spouse, you do have a lot of options because you can get Medicare. But if you have a spouse, it's you can't get nothing. Like I don't
Yeah,
qualify for anything because they just say, oh well, you have to be on your spouse's insurance. If your
that's
spouse
right.
has insurance, then you have to be on your insurance. Like that's
Yeah.
legal. And that's something that I didn't even think about that when I was leaving. As far as like all the legal stuff that goes into insurance. So staffing, um, holding myself accountable for leaving, putting a system in place to hold myself accountable for leaving, looking at my benefits. And then now it's really getting into like a routine because even though I've been like a year and a half full time, it's still really difficult to like to stick to a steady like weekly routine
Mm-hmm.
with clients and work. So that's like my big goal is this year is to like have my like steady like weekly routine because it's
Systems,
something that I need. I
systems,
have to have that
routines.
system. Like I have
Yeah.
the systems in place for like workflows and stuff for the business, but I need to have a system for me
Yeah.
because you have to realize if you're an employee, the system's already made for you.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to do anything. You don't have to think
Exactly.
about the structure of the day.
The
You don't have to worry.
accountability
Yeah,
and
you
time
need that.
management is
Mm-hmm.
built into the job you're on. And a
Yes.
lot, my youngest son, who's very entrepreneurial, he says to me, Mom, how do you wake up every day and be so consistent working your business the way you do?
Right.
Um, and I come from a very strong corporate background, but
Mm-hmm.
also in leadership. So by the time I left corporate America, I was a VP of sales and marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And in leadership and executive level corporate experience, it's there you have to be a self-starter because you're in leadership in corporate. But if your job hasn't required you, isn't like a checking in, right? You're clocking in, you're clocking out kind of thing, right? If when you don't haven't had a lot of freedom and leeway in your 9 to 5 job, guess what? Thinking that it's just going to be inherent when you're working your business full time is not true,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of people, even through COVID and working through home and being remote, people have struggled being at
Yep.
home and working and being consistent. And it's no different with running your own business,
Right.
which leads me into my journey with transitioning from corporate. I was an executive when I was leaving corporate. And one of the first things I did, which was unheard of back then, we're talking almost 20 years ago, guys. But back then, I actually negotiated to work from home. I had a mother who was sick, I had small children, and I was able to just negotiate and maneuver to be able to work from home as an executive.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the beginning of a transition for me, because not being at the corporate office, right? Not being under the microscope of what you're doing or what you're focusing on, being able to flex in my business development in between working that job was my transition. From there, I then went to work for another company that was closer in the industry that I was starting my business. The business I was starting was a construction supply and exporting company.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to then make more connections through this other role, and as an executive at this other company, traveling all throughout the Caribbean, built up more of a network. By the time I went to launch my business, I literally was able to just transition from that last. So I went for part-time. I worked from home,
Mm-hmm.
went to work on a contract for another company, right? And that helped me to transition into working for my business. Now, once I started working for my business, there was one point where I took a contract doing some work for another company
Mm-hmm.
because it supplemented the income while I was still developing my company. And that is a really huge option that I think a lot of the time people miss out on, is that coming away from going off somewhere, if you're going to a 9 to 5 somewhere, transitioning to work from home, transitioning with part-time supplemental work once you've got your business actually going and making some income, but beginning to kind of slowly back away from working full-time is also another option, so you can keep your income supplemented versus kind of like all or nothing, especially if you don't have a
Right.
spouse, you don't have support, right? It's on you to make it happen. Those are very viable options for a transition. And I think it's become even easier now. My youngest son recently quit his part-time job. He's in his last year of college. He recently quit his part-time job, and he's driving Uber Eats. He's like, Mom, I make more money driving Uber than I had with this, part-time job in retail.
Yeah.
And so there's now technology and ways for us to supplement incomes in order to fulfill our dreams and pay our bills and make sure we stay afloat.
Right.
Um, my next question for you is this. When it comes to marketing your business, getting clients, right? Because this is the next, once you overcome the self-doubts, once you've launched a business, you've got some clients coming through, being consistent enough to be able to have client attraction, market and conversion, sales, right?
Right.
What would be your number one, piece of advice for the people who are new entrepreneurs who are wanting to transition into full-time entrepreneurship about really making sure they're doing everything it takes to really get their business consistent with client attraction?
The number one thing is really avoiding social media and avoiding the online space. It's like we're in a really great time because we just have the free ability for the most part. Of course, you can always put money behind it, and that's going to push the needle even further and make it happen even further. But you have to be showing up online in order to be getting clients. At least when it comes to, I mean, it's across all boards, across product and the service side. Especially, I feel like with the product, the retail side, because I mean, you have to look like even there's so many big names that are closing their stores because of the online space. Especially when you look into like retail, and then you look at places like TikTok shop and how people are selling their stuff
Yeah.
on there. So you just have to really like get with the times. You can't just sit and be like, well, this used to work, so I'm just going to, keep doing what I was doing back in whatever. No, it's just not going to work anymore.
Yeah.
You have to get uncomfortable because it's not a normal, natural, innate thing to just be on camera, to be showing up. And that's the okay part. But I feel like people make that excuse that, oh, I don't like being in front of the camera. Oh, I don't like, showing up. But you can't do that. There are ways that you cannot be in front of the camera, but you still need to be like physically
Consistent.
showing up for your business consistently. I had someone almost make the metaphor to like treat it like your open sign. So if I go on your page and I haven't seen you post for years, if I don't know you, am I going to think that you're open? No. And guess what? I'm just going to go to the next person. I'm going to go to your competitor. So that's how the way you have to think about your business. It's been that way, but you really, really need to be that way now and forward. That is how people are looking at you, like first. Even any restaurants that I'm looking at, like now, where's the first place I go? I go to Instagram. Let me see if I can find pictures and
That's
videos of the
right.
food. What is the ambiance like? Like that's what I'm going to.
Right.
And then I may go to Google, read the reviews, do all that stuff. But for the most part, I'm trying to see like visually, like what visually proves that I need to invest in whatever
Yeah.
I'm thinking to invest in.
Yeah. Social
And if you don't,
proof.
yeah, you have to have that social proof. And it's almost I was reading a book to my son the other night, and I was just like, we've been programmed like this our entire lives. Think about how the way you start to read. When you learn to read, what's the first thing that you notice when you're with books as a child? Is the pictures. Like you have to look at the pictures first, and then the pictures give you context to whatever the words are. So guess what? That's what social media is. That's what branding is, because you have to give a visual to give context to the words that you are trying to say to people,
Yeah.
the text that you're putting out.
Yeah.
Because if there's a disconnect, or if I don't know you personally, I'm not gonna, fully sit here and indulge in, listening to you and reading all that you have to say if I
Mm-hmm.
can't quickly, because remember, we all have short attention spans, and social media and the computers and tech and AI
Yep.
is just making our attention spans even shorter than they already were.
Yeah.
So we have to have a visual so we can have that immediate connection to let people know, oh, this is what I need. And then I feel like something else that's very key in branding is to show it. Because a lot of people like, oh, I need a new updated headshot. But that's all well and dandy to have, your pictures, to see you as the face of your business.
Mm-hmm.
But I need to see like your business in action. If you're a product, I need to see your products used in action. If you're
And
a service based,
and presented in excellence
yes,
professionally. Let's
yes,
emphasize it,
big
that
professional.
quality
Mm-hmm.
of those
Because we can
images,
all tell if you
investing.
did it. At this
Yes.
point, we all
And
know
this
you
is,
did it.
I say this consistently in our CEO Sister Q&A that we started on Saturdays at
Okay.
10 a.m. For anybody who has any business questions, CEO Sister Q&A is Saturdays at 10 a.m. But I've been saying consistently that we have got to take our businesses seriously. If you want to make serious money, you've got to take your business seriously.
Right.
That just kind of thinking you can go on Canva. It's one of the
Mm-hmm.
questions I ask in my strategy sessions is, are you naturally good at graphic design?
Mm-hmm.
Are you naturally good at creating a website? And I'm not talking about because you can go on Canva and DIY it and now you got something that looks homemade that you
Janky.
made. It doesn't look
Mm-hmm.
professionally done. That's not going to get it done. That doesn't equal conversion. Not for when you want a certain level of clientele and you have a target audience that you're trying to reach for conversion. Because
Mm-hmm.
guess what? The person that's making something similar to you or offering something similar, if their pictures aren't blurry and their graphic designs and flyers are not looking handmade, they're trumping your handmade branding and marketing. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that one of the things, and this is really a huge topic for me, is that social media has created a psychology around entrepreneurship and business that you can just kind of like throw something up and you too can be a millionaire, or you can just wing it, and you're going to be rich
Mm-hmm.
because you can go and do all of this PLR and MRR stuff and get a little course and put your name on it, and it's not your content, and you can do this and that. And really, they're just the only people making money doing that are the people who are selling the content,
Yep.
not the people who are buying it. Because
Mm-hmm.
you don't have an audience, you're not branding yourself, marketing it consistently for someone to know who you are in order to buy in so you have conversion. And
Mm-hmm.
so recognizing that there's a psychology that social media has created where people have become lazy, but then frustrated, right? Because if we go back 20 years before social media, guys, you used to have to be able to have investment. You had to be able to afford to get a brick and mortar building, or if you were doing something virtual, which is kind of even unheard of 20 years ago, guys,
Right.
like literally you had to have money to get a business off the ground. And our psychology around business has shifted so much. And I'm not, and listen, there are the exceptions. There are
Mm-hmm.
people out here who could sell snow to Eskimos. There are
Right.
people out here who got charisma, a mouthpiece. They could sell you anything because they simply are so influential and convincing when they're talking that they can almost sell you anything. But if that's not you, which is 95% of people,
Right.
that's not who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And so guess what? 95% of the population has still got to do the basics of business around branding, marketing, sales, customer service, and it needs to look professional. It needs to look like you're running a real business that's not a fly by night, secure the bag, snatch and grab, just trying to make some quick money and going to be gone tomorrow. Because
Right.
the consumers, one of the things that's happened since COVID and this COVID bust that we're seeing right now is that there is correction. Consumers are now educated. They got one too many times by buying this and investing in that and not getting what they paid for, getting got scammed out of
Yeah.
money, right? And so now people are less like, they're doing more research. They're going down the rabbit hole. They're clicking your links. They're looking at how long you've been posting. They're looking at we're back to the basics. They're looking at your website. They're looking at the quality of your pictures and your graphics. They are paying attention because now they realize I need proof that this person is worth investing in.
Right. And that's actually like a number one thing, even when I'm on my discovery calls, that I frequently get is I've been looking through your content, or some people have been following me for years, for
Mhm.
months, and they were just like, I've just been watching you, and now I know I'm finally at the point where I can, invest and, do whatever I need to do within my business,
Yeah.
life, love, depending on which way they come. But that's something that's really, because it happens almost like every other conversation, is the fact that your clients are currently probably already in your follower list, like right now. Like,
Mhm.
they're following you, they are looking at your page, and they are looking up to you to see essentially if you can prove that, oh, okay, cool, this is the person that I need to reach out to for this service,
Mhm.
for this product. So with that in mind, you'd be like, well, if I know I have, clients and customers that are already connected to me, how am I serving them? Like, what am I doing to, show and prove that, oh, yes, I'm the person that, you need to work with, or I'm or this is the product that's going to solve your solution? Because when you are just kind of like come and go here and
Yeah.
there, and even when it's not even like a posting everyday thing, because that's something that it used to be,
Yeah.
I need you to be
It's
posting
changed.
frequently, but that has changed. Consistency is also just within your content. Like, is your content, like the value piece, like, is that consistent? Don't focus so much on, oh, how many days am I posting? Oh, what time am I
Yeah.
posting? Because that is just a rabbit hole of excuses that's going to, talk you out of actually taking the
Right.
action. But like, focus on the experience that you're giving people once they actually find you. And something that I'm like really big on is like actually looking at it from a marketing funnel. So actually thinking about, like, what kind of content do I need to attract the people to get them at the top? What kind of content do I need in the middle that's going to, nurture the people that are there? And then what's the content that's going to, convert to whatever service
Mhm.
offer suite that I'm going for? Because most of the time what ends up happening is we're just on like one part of the funnel, and we're trying to be like, well, why can't I connect? Like, why I'm getting people here, but like they're not buying
Right.
anything? It's because you're probably making content that's attracting them to you, but it's
Right.
not actually making them take any action. So just
Exactly.
really thinking very intentionally about your content, and
Yeah.
realizing that it's not like a one size fit all thing. Um, a lot of times when it comes to branding, you can't really get it done in just one shoot, because with one shoot you're really only going to get like one aspect of it, done and visualized. But you're going to have to, on the same thing, be consistent, be like, oh, I need to tell the full story.
Yeah.
Because you have to think, you're telling chapters, or you're maybe
Mhm.
leaving pages
Yeah.
of, the story on your page, but there's like full chapters and other pages and context that's missing, that's actually going to, connect the
Mhm.
dots to get people to convert and do the things that you need them to do.
Yeah. When I first started my coaching business, I started out with my very first photo shoot. I have never skimped when it comes to photography, graphic design, and content creation.
Mhm.
And also on my look. Let's be very clear about what branding is, y'all, right?
Yeah.
It's about showing up consistently, looking good,
Right.
right, to the best of your ability consistently. And I think that one of the things that a lot of the time goes unnoticed or isn't really realized is the financial investment it takes
Mm-hmm.
for that aspect of business, right? About So when I first started, I did my very first photo shoot very quickly within the second year of my business. I'm doing 2 or 3 photo shoots that year.
Mm-hmm.
As I kept growing and scaling in my business, I was literally beginning to shoot every month
Right.
because I had such a demand on content and needing fresh images for different campaigns that were rolling out constantly, whether it's a book cover, whether it's a course cover, workbook cover, a landing page with fresh pictures. So because we don't realize that when you've got pictures that you've used for 3 years, when you go to post that picture to promote something else or it's on the cover of something else, guess what? People don't even notice it.
Yep.
They've seen that
They've seen it so
already, right?
much. Mm-hmm.
Now you're not getting the conversion, you're not getting the traction you would get if you were to put up a fresh new image the way. And so recognizing that your business is going to require consistent investment for product or service, right? Refreshing. Even I shot with Jasmine month before last and got my rebranding photo shoot. And because guess what, when I decide to do something, I go all in with it, right? New hair color, new pictures, new everything. And it's like, guess what, that gives it that pop. It's like, that's Rebecca?
Mm-hmm.
What? You can't, over on YouTube, they're like, Rebecca, wait, I didn't even know that was you until you smiled. Oh my God, what are you doing? What's going on right now? I've been blonde for years, right? Guys, listen, especially doing a new brand, nothing better than to change up my look doing a new brand. It is a physical representation of a pivot. And being able to freshen up your brand, freshen up, right? We are always growing, we are always changing, we are always transforming. There's nothing wrong with a fresh new cut or a fresh new look or a different outfit and a new photo shoot, a new. One of the things I've told my coaches, my certified coaches over all the years of training, is that one of the best investments you can make in your business is in a photo and video shoot. Hands down.
Yeah.
If you've got $1,000, and if I have $1,000 and $1,000 has to go into something that's going to benefit me, I'm talking about return on investment. It would be going, these are my 2 things. It would go into photo shoot and targeted ads.
Yes.
Those are the 2 things, if it takes money to do something. Now, the other thing would be graphic design, and professional marketing. If you don't know what you're doing, paying somebody and delegating it and being able to outsource that part of business that you're not great at, because that should be some of the things you're beginning to outsource as you continue to grow, is the stuff that you're just really not good at. Being able to swim in your lane and be an expert at what you do and leave the other stuff to the other experts.
Yeah, because as you try to figure it out in DIY, you're essentially like shooting yourself in the foot, because you're taking away the time and your expertise that would have actually drove the revenue within your business, because you're trying to figure out what somebody else's job was. And then something else, speaking on where you, with your photo shoots, is also not like taking, because I know like with women, we're just like, oh, I would need to lose these extra few pounds before I do a shoot. Do not do that. Okay, because this is what I end up happening, what I see happening. One, you're using a picture where you were happy with your weight, but you don't look like that in person. So then essentially you're causing distrust, because when I see you in person, I'm just like, who is this? This isn't what I was seeing online. Like, you over here on your page is one person, and you right here in front of me is a whole other person. So guess what that's going to make me do? That's going to make me be like, well, what else have you been like lying to me about? Like, it's because like, what's going on? So I always tell people, even if you're not happy with your weight, I have had several shoots after having kids where I'm just like, I'm a little fluffier than I wanted to be, but guess what? I still showed up, fluffy and all, because when I show up to shoot you, I need it to be the same person. And that goes across the board, not even just like physically like looking at you, but even when it comes to your personality.
Yeah.
Be you across the board, so you can be the same person that you are on your page in person. Because I get that compliment all the time, and I find it weird that it's even a compliment, where they're just like, oh, you're the same person. Like, Like you match. I'm just like,
Well, that
but I also understand why they say that because I have experienced it multiple times where I look up to a person and I meet them in real life and I'm just like, you're
Jasmine.
really mean.
Yeah, it ain't just about
Yeah.
looks. Okay, these internet streets is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. Your brand is more than just who you pretend to be. It's how you treat the people who you think don't matter. It's how you act when the cameras aren't rolling.
Yes.
That's the authentic brand. And I think imposter syndrome is so real because, while good-hearted people will sit and doubt themselves and it's like, oh, I gained a few pounds, I don't want to take new pictures. Sweetheart, take your
Take the
pictures.
pictures.
Your money is waiting on you. People need you. And in the meantime, you're comparing yourself with someone who's been airbrushed to death, snatched, plastic surgery, little Botox.
Yeah.
I'm talking about myself, okay? I'm talking about myself. You're comparing yourself to all these people that have had some enhancements, just a little bit of enhancements,
Right.
okay? And in the meantime, you can get your money up and have a few little enhancements
Right.
too when you get your money up. But in the meantime, sis, you gotta get the bag. You gotta get out here and manifest these business dreams. It's not gonna just build
Right.
itself, right? And people need you. People need you. Back to passion and purpose. You are needed. Your product, your service is needed. If you go back to some of my oldest videos on YouTube, Jasmine, I had gappy teeth. I always had these small little teeth. I've had Invisalign. I got my eyebrows done. I get Botox around my eyes, a little filler in my lips. I get facials. When I see this thing on the internet all the time. It says, "You're not ugly. You're just broke," and it's like, it's
That's a
true.
very true statement.
I mean, guys, people. If somebody goes back and looks at old videos of me, it's like, dang, Rebecca had a real glow up. It's called money, boo. I got Invisalign, okay, facial treatments and skin treatments. I'm a grandma, honey, but I don't look like a grandma. Hello, okay, but that's money. And that extra money, the things that these things cost, guess what? It comes with being in business, having streams of income that you're not fixed on a budget to say, I can't afford my Botox or I can't afford. I mean, so look, I know. Look,
the
we are
comments are
telling
going
the
crazy
truth.
now.
What'd you say?
I said the comments are going crazy. They're just like, yes, yes.
It's true.
It is.
Because I have met so many celebrities in person on just in my TV days and all these panels and all these events. And guys, these people in person, what are you doing to these videos and photos that and I've had the audacity as a woman to be beating myself up and following these people and comparing myself. God, I need to lose weight. God, she's so snatched. She's so, her stomach's so flat and her butt is popping. And it's like you see people in person and it's like,
right. You'd be like,
I've been
oh,
bamboozled.
like I'm fine. Hold up.
I look good.
I look good.
Like, I look damn good.
Right.
I look really good. And I'm like, but as women, guys, we just, the comparison trap.
Yes.
That and social media feed, especially Instagram, feeds on this perfectionism and this aesthetic that looks so perfect, and it's absolutely so detrimental to ourselves, our dreams, our businesses, our goals. I hate it. Anyway, so that being said, invest in your business, invest in yourself. Somebody said, not Aunt Becky exposing people. I'm telling the truth.
Right.
I'm telling the truth. Giselle says, Rebecca, hello, thank you for this episode. Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year, guys. Listen, guys. It's absolutely so crucial in 2025. This is the first day of the new year. And I'm just going to say this. Now I want to end us on a very spirit-filled note.
Yes.
Faith is powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Faith is powerful. Before you see it, you're gonna have to believe it, guys. You're gonna have to, it's just gotta be a vision, a dream in your head that nobody else can see but you.
Right. Right.
And you have to wake up and you have to begin to take action as if this thing is happening every day.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one of the hardest parts of entrepreneurship
Yes.
is you are building something that no one else can see.
Mm-hmm.
And it's getting up every day. And it's even when family don't believe it, don't see it, your friends can't see it for you. Honey, it's entrepreneurship equates to leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Only 16% of the population are successful entrepreneurs. So you are literally, as an entrepreneur, 84% of people do not have
Mm-hmm.
the courage
Right.
to step out on faith to do what we do.
Right.
So it's going to require so much
Mm-hmm.
courage,
Mm-hmm.
faith, gumption, gumption, backbone,
Yes.
tenacity,
Mm-hmm.
tenacity.
Yes.
And it's going to require you to keep seeking God, praying,
Mm-hmm.
praying, seeking God, crying with God. You're going to have to keep working that thing out on your knees. Get back up, get back to work, on your knees crying, get back up.
Yes.
Listen,
Mm-hmm.
Jasmine,
And
any
I
last
almost
words?
want to go into like a whole thing when it comes to faith in entrepreneurship, because when I tell you, I've always been very deep into my faith all my life. Grew up in the church, all the things. But I don't feel like I've ever, ever been
Mm-mm.
like this with God until I became an entrepreneur. And if this all goes to, it crashes and burns, that's what is it's like the relationship, the delusional faith. I have delusional faith
Yes,
in my
Delulu.
business being successful because he told me so.
Yeah.
When it comes to, even like right next to my desk, I'm over here looking at my desk over there. I have a stack of books about this high. That's all different versions of the Bible study books. And I have like widgets on my computer with Bible verses because I'm always like checking, especially when it comes on this social media streaks. Because I feel like last year, probably like 2022 forward, but really like 2024, it just was like a big influx of a whole bunch of different Christian influencers, and you see like a scripture, and a lot of times the scripture that they are putting on these nice little cute little graphics, it's that it's not the same thing. Like, I'm like, what Bible did you get that from? Like, that's not what that verse said. So I also want people to be paying attention to that. When you do see things and you see that verse, you're like, oh yeah, cool, let me save this verse. But no, actually go check it. Go check it. Go look in the Bible and see if that's what the verse actually said. Because I've had several posts that I have seen. I have went back, like posts with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of likes and millions of views. And I go and look in the Bible just like,
Where is that at?
but that's not what
What?
that says.
What? Listen.
You're literally completely gaslighting God's word and putting it, like, trying to make it sound better for you, for your situation. I was just like, that's not what
That's
it said.
been since the bubble has busted after COVID. It's one of the trends that I have seen is you've seen a lot of coaches transition into these spiritual
Yeah.
influencers because the courses stopped selling, the all this stuff stopped selling, and now it's like this scrambling trying to secure the bag and
Right.
hustle in a different way. And I had to unfollow
Mm-hmm.
quite a few people because it was like, now you're prophesying.
Right.
Okay. Wait, but you were half
You
naked
was
last
just a
week.
slut.
Last week.
I
Um,
just saw the bottle girl. Hold up.
right. Like And so it's like, and not to be sitting
Not
in
at
judgment of people,
all.
but guys, social media is a shit show.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get caught up on here, which is, it's designed to
Mm-hmm.
keep you caught up
Yeah.
on here, to the point that if you keep coming on here and you're not coming on with your own goals and using it as a marketing tool, and you're coming on and being part of the matrix and the system
Mm-hmm.
that keeps you stuck in your head and overthinking
Yeah.
everything constantly,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to be moving forward in your own goals with God. You're
Right.
just not. Because you come on here and it's literally designed for you to feel like you're not good enough, you're not working hard enough, none of it is about alignment. None of it is about peace. It's not about Holy Spirit. It is about just keeping you in a system of overwhelm,
Right.
overwork, and over comparison, to where no matter what, you're going to keep trying to jump
Right.
to try to feed this algorithm, feed this monster, feed this
Mm-hmm.
system to try to be popular.
Right.
And that's not the goal.
Not at all.
It's not the
Well,
goal. The
that's not
goal
his
is,
goal. That's the enemy's goal,
no,
but that's
right.
not his goal.
The goal is to have
Yeah.
impact. The goal is to make a difference. The goal is to help. And the goal is for you to literally thrive while you make an impact, for
Exactly.
you to prosper while you make an impact. And so, you know, recognizing that some of these platforms are worse than
Mm-hmm.
others. I'll just say
Right.
that, definitely. But recognizing that you're going to have to guard your spirit, you're going to have to be very determined,
Right.
very selective about what you take in, what you follow.
Mm-hmm.
But even in wrapping up, what's something you want to leave the people with? What do you want to leave the ladies with, Jasmine?
Um, I want to leave all the ladies on this live with really tapping into the woman that you really are, deep, deep inside. Tap into that woman and let her out, because a lot of us are so magical. We're
Yeah.
so magical, so powerful, but we are so stuck in worrying about what somebody else is going to think, worrying about is this going to be perfect? Is this going to be right? Is that we just literally keep ourselves, and I'm talking to myself too. Rebecca, she knows I'm talking to myself too, that we just sit in it and we just literally hide in our greatness. But if there's anything that I could tell you guys for 2025, let that greatness out, because it's only hurting. It's not just hurting you, it's hurting everybody else that you were meant to impact, because you were put on this earth with a gift to do a certain thing. You had an assignment. You have an assignment, a God appointed assignment when you were put on this earth, but you have to be obedient and fully obedient in it, and move in that uncomfortableness, and let those people come. Because once you let it go, the discernment and the flow, that abundance that just flows once you finally let go of the imposter syndrome, of the doubt, of the, oh, I can't do this, or oh, I'm not ready for that, or oh, this may be too much. I'm telling you, the other side of the wall is not, is up. It's nothing but abundance and amazingness and freeing, because you just let that weight, all that weight that you've been holding, trying to hold this greatness in, once you finally let it go, oh, it's amazing. And I want you to be able to relax those shoulders. I want you to be able to be so confident and be able to say what you do in a biggest room with all the people, with all the money, all the, I want you to be able to do that. So just let the greatness out in 2025.
Amen.
And I would love to help you let it out too. So let me
That
know.
being said, make sure you click on Jasmine's link to go over and book a consultation with her to book your branding photo shoot that you need for 2025. Please understand, it's a new year. You need new photos, you need new visuals. Come on, let's get it going. Let's get it popping. And also make sure you go over and grab your spot in my CEO Sister Q&A on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. If you have any questions from watching this show and you're saying, Rebecca, I've got questions, I need help, book a VIP business strategy session with me, or book and not and or and join the Q&A on Saturday. They're both in my bio, in my link. Mel Chitty says, do you travel, Jasmine? Yes, she
Yes, I
travels.
travel
She
and I actually
travels.
want to travel more. So
She wants to
my
travel
sons
more.
are older now, so I don't feel the guilt, the mom
Yeah.
guilt
Yeah.
of leaving them. So yes, I travel wherever Delta Airlines flies, I'm there. Okay? So
Amen.
just let me know.
And I just had this drop on me for those of you who are coming into this new year with grievance, with heartache, with weight, with some burden, some things weighing you down. My free forgiveness workshop is still at my link as well. Make
Mm.
sure you take that forgiveness workshop to dump the heavy loads, to tread lighter into this new year. Work on that here this week so you can be prepared for all the greatness that Jasmine is talking about and be prepared to walk into your best life and best business ever. Jasmine, thank you so much,
Yes, thank
love.
you
Thank
for
you.
having
You're
me.
welcome. Thank you.
Mwah, mwah, mwah.
All right. Blessings and abundance, guys. God, I thank you. We thank you for CEO Sister Talk, this first episode of 2025. Let it be a blessing. Let everyone that it touches be blessed by this information, this knowledge, this sharing from heart and spirit, God. Touch lives, bring breakthrough, prosperity, and abundance. We pour it over our followings and over anybody new who finds us. We thank you in advance for the work you're doing in their lives. Amen. All
Amen.
right, guys. Talk to you guys soon. Thank you. Talk to you later. Bye bye.
Bye.